Hello, everybody. I want to talk to you about five things. One, two, three, four, five things that might be destroying your relationship right now, perhaps even unbeknownst to you. Before I tell you that, however, I have a checklist of between 10 to 15 more things. So if you want a detailed checklist, please go into the description, click the link, let me know where to send it, and I'll be happy to give it to you. Now, let's get to the five. Even before I start with the five, I want to draw an analogy. A friend of mine got a stroke the other day, and we were all scared and frightened. He was fearful. He was a bit young to be getting stroke. However, one of the things I realized in my age, I'm much older than he is that we're doing things to our bodies that we are unaware of the impact. So we go along our merry way, we drink, we eat, we sleep anyhow, anywhere, and we rob ourselves of great health without being aware of the impact that is having on us. In other words, things are transpiring inside us that we are not even remotely aware of it until one day something clicks, it breaks down, and our health is in worse shape than we ever thought it was. Um, a couple of examples of what we do. One of the things that people do is, and I'm not even talking about smoking cigarettes, I'm not talking about doing terrible things to your health that you're aware of. People eat a lot of sugar and it tastes nice, the cakes, the ice cream, the sweets, wonderful, pleasant to the appetite, but disastrous to the body. Another thing that I learned just a year or two ago, which totally caught me by surprise, and I don't know if you've heard about it, is something that is called sit-down disease. Have you ever heard about the sit-down disease? Oh, actually, if you haven't, I'll tell you about it quickly. What happens is that many of us, particularly those of us who do sedentary work in the office, commuting to work back and forth, sitting down, coming home, sitting on our sofas, and going to the office, sitting down all the time, it is terrible for your health. In fact, it's probably just as bad and even worse than cigarettes. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is to let you know that something similar happens in our marriages. And many times we are not aware of the terrible, disastrous impact and effect that's happening to our marriage, slowly deteriorating under our very noses without us being aware, until one day somebody gets up and lands a divorce paper or says that they're not in love anymore, that you are not the person that they got married to, and bang bang, your marriage is in crisis. Now, what are some of these things that eats away, destroys our marriages, sometimes with us not even being aware of it? First one on the list is what we call the marital drift. I like to call it marital entropy. I don't know if you've heard of the word entropy before. I think it comes from the sciences, and it describes the fact that everything in the universe is slowly but surely disintegrating. So from the time you were born, you're on your way to die. You're progressively moving towards death. If you leave something on your countertop and you don't move it and you just ignore it, it's going to rot and deteriorate. Even the house that you live in, if you don't keep it up, if you don't maintain it, if you don't do repairs, eventually it's going to slowly but surely disintegrate. Your marriage is no different. Your marriage is no different. It needs constant upkeep. It needs repair from time to time. It needs you to pay attention to it. Which brings me nicely to the second, before I go, there is even research that shows that, like life, the time you're born, you're slowly moving towards death. Your marriage, it starts from being extremely happy when you fall in love, you marry someone, your happiness is at the peak. But over the years, there is a slow, progressive decline until it moves slowly down. And you might be in a marriage where you recognize, look, things are not happy. You're just gliding by. You're just getting by. You're just simply like ships in the night passing each other. There is no excitement, no novelty, and you are stuck in a rut. Now, what do? There are lots of things you can do, but one of the things I'll share with you is that you become intentional, very intentional about doing something that will put a spark, put a smile back in and on your spouse's face. Every morning, every day that you get up, what can I do? Ask yourself this one question. What can I do to make my spouse feel better, happier, more fulfilled, enhanced, enriched? What is one little thing? It could be anything. Maybe a note. It could be smiling. It could be giving them breakfast in bed. Whatever it is, what can I do today? One small thing. It doesn't have to be major. You don't have to take her to dinner. You don't have to spend a lot of money on flowers, although I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. But sometimes it's just the little things. My wife always tells me, it's simple. It's just the little things. Just the little things. Do something every day that will put a smile, that would, bring back joy in the life of your spouse, and in fact, would boost the relationship. Second thing, and I'm going to go slow here, is what we call, or what is known as the invisible, is a corollary to the first one, which is the marital drift. Sometimes when people drift apart, a lot of people have perfectly good marriages. From the outside, it looks wonderful, but they wake up and think, hold on, I don't know you. I actually don't know you. You're not the person that I got married to 5, 10, 20 years ago. And many people, it's not because someone cheated, it's not because they're having major clashes, they simply conclude we have drifted apart and they divorce. Well, the second thing, again, is corollary to that, is what is called the invisible mental load. The invisible mental load. For men, we don't seem to have it as much as women. You see, women want everything to go right. They want things to be not perfect, but they want things to be surely done wonderful. My son is coming up to his 18th birthday. For me, I'll just get him a gift, but he probably just wants money, really. He loves money, and I'll just give him the money, that's fine. But my wife wants to have a party, and in having the party, she's planning the party, she's looking to the detail. As I speak right now, I should be outside painting the fence, and I'm going to hurry off and go because she's going to have a go at me that things need to be done, and I'm not doing them. But the reason why I'm saying that is that many times in women's mind, they are mapping out how things should be organized. They might be lying down on the bed, ready to go to sleep, and while you could just simply drop off to sleep, not even thinking about nothing, they're organizing and orchestrating things for the next day. What are they going to cook for dinner? What are the children going to have to eat? How is this going to be done? Or they might be thinking about the next bill. How are we going to pay that bill? So there is that invisible mental load. They come home in the afternoon. As a man, we can push aside, if the place is messy, we can sit happily and relax and watch the TV, but they cannot settle down until the place is organized, the place is clean. And so they have to do that before anything else is done. And they're thinking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead. And you're probably, as a man, just thinking about what you're going to eat, what's there for dinner. So the invisible mental load, men do it too. I saw a video the other day on TikTok or Instagram where this guy who was telling his girlfriend, look, I got up this morning, they were having a party. I went to the store, got all of this stuff, did the barbecue, and, he listed a whole series of things that he has done, and she didn't seem to recognize the efforts that he had put in, particularly for her own family. And so she had a comeback at him, and he said quite calmly and cool, you know what? I'm glad that you've said that, because I'm not going to get married to you. Boy, that was a blow. And it simply is, and I'm going to tell you the secret to checking and remedying this mental load is appreciation. It's a very simple thing, but we neglect to do it. Again, listen to that word. We neglect to do it because we are not paying attention. And this lady says, and I like to say it, and you might have heard it in some of my videos, Patty Newbold says, if you want to find love, if you want to know if you're loved, look for love. So what you want to do every day is to think about what are the things that your spouse did that day. Your spouse is constantly and continually doing. Many times we take them for granted, not because we are cruel or horrible, but simply because they don't really land on our conscious radar, and we assume that they should be done. And one of the ways that you will get shocked about the amount of things your spouse has done if your spouse, for some reason or the other, is taken out of the equation. And this can happen in many different ways. I know that a couple, the relationship broke down. She broke up with him. He had to go out of the house. And a couple of days and weeks after, she literally admitted that she wasn't aware of the amount of things that he was doing around the house. A simple thing as taking out the bin every bin day. She didn't clock on that the bin was even being taken out. And when he wasn't there, the bin wasn't taken out for a week or two, and things started to rot in the bin. And she's thinking, oh Lord, he used to regularly bath the children and do a number of things. And she was not clocking that these things are things that would take off the strain of her. And it wasn't until, they say you never miss the water till the well runs dry. But that doesn't have to happen to you. What you need to start doing is to appreciate your spouse. Find something every day to appreciate, to say thanks, to let them know how much they mean to you. And little things like that would make a major difference to lifting this mental load that people are going through. Men also have the mental load of perhaps providing finances. Maybe things are not going well at work and they don't really speak about it, but they know that, the bills, the mortgage, the utility bills, the bills that, you have to pay for the child's school books, the trips that the child, and on his mind, he's always clocking and thinking about and processing how to get these bills paid. So that's another thing that chips away at your marriage. How much did I say? That was 2. Let's give you the third one. The third one is how we communicate. Now, I could do an entire day's seminar on this, how we communicate. Now, but basically, what I want to let you know is that many of us, sorry for my nasal congestion, many of us are not aware that we have lousy ways of communicating. In fact, I was reading a book. I can't remember the name of the book, but the guy mentioned that invalidating communication is a pandemic in the modern world. Let me just break that down. Invalidating communication. The way we communicate normally invalidates, shames people, make them feel less than, make them feel embarrassed. And we do a lot of that even to our friends, our family, and more specifically, our spouse. I've been listening to my sons. I have 3 sons, and they would, constantly get at each other. And I'm realizing there is a pattern that I had to speak to them about. The pattern is always trying to bring each other down. And they do it in ways by mocking. It's not that they're saying oh, you are stupid or you are ugly or anything, but yet there's a sarcasm that they use, and they rub each other the wrong way. And it's almost like they're trying to up the ante to see which of them could get the best retort and respond. Now that is dangerous. I had to point it out to them that that is a very dangerous thing to do. That they don't spend time building each other up. They don't spend time acknowledging how the other person impacts them. They don't spend time validating the strengths of the other person. And the same thing happens in our relationship. One, we ignore it, and two, worse, we tend to invalidate. And I like to go into a little bit the details. Is how do we respond? John Gottman speaks about bids for connection. And sometimes it's not even about the big, loud outbursts and arguments, although that I want to speak to at a later date because that's important. It's about the little things. John Gottman speaks, like I said, about the bids for connection. And the bids for connection comes in simple, everyday interaction. It's like turning to the person and making a comment, an offhanded comment about maybe something that happened during the day, or something that is in the environment, or about another character, or some story you've heard or read, or something you've heard about. And if that is just a slight bid for the attention and the connection with the other person, if you don't acknowledge, if you ignore, that is not a major thing, but that is a misbid. And when you miss that bid, the person, although may not respond and may not realize it, they feel like they're nobody subconsciously. And if it's done over and over and over, if they try to get your attention in simple little things, how do I look? How does this look? What can we do today? Over a period of time, it destroys the relationship. Now, how do we remedy this? Is to become super aware that every moment of the day, when you are together and even when you are apart, you need to be connected. You can feel the connection. When you first fell in love, when you were first, you're always thinking about this person. And there is an invisible romantic umbilical cord that connects you. And you can feel it. When that is disconnected, now you're in terrible. You don't even have to say anything. So how we communicate is important. And it also makes us feel safe or unsafe. If we say something that gets ignored, or if we say something that the other person rubbishes, if we say something or do something and they have a go at us, subconsciously in our minds, we're recognizing that this person isn't really safe to be with. I can't really be myself. I've heard that even sometimes my wife and I, we have glorified discussion. That's what I call them. You call them arguments. And she would say, I can't be myself around you. And what she's actually communicating, and I needed to take that on board, was that she can't express the inner emotions, the inner feelings, the inner thoughts in her mind, because I will rubbish them. I will dismiss them. I will make her feel embarrassed. And as a result of that, she has to hide that part of her. And as she hides that part of her, my relationship is going to be terrible because I am not going to get the best of her. So we need to be very careful. Like I said, if you want to know more on how to talk so that your spouse would listen, so that your spouse would talk, or how to build that connection, please, if you're in a situation that you're not talking, where someone has shut down, where there is this invisible wall and silence between you, well, your marriage is in problem, reach out to me and let's see how we can rebuild that connection. I can't even remember how far we are, but I'll give you one more because this video is getting rather long. Is what we call unexpressed expectation. Unexpressed expectation. Now, Alan de Botton speaks wonderfully to this. The template we normally come into marriage with is a template that we picked up subconsciously from our early childhood days. And normally you would hear women, particularly women, say that, oh, if he loves me, he would know what to do. When I try to say, well, why don't you tell him what to do? Sorry. They look at me as if, duh, if I tell him what to do, then it doesn't count. Now let's speak through this. So deep within her mind, or their mind, it happens with men too, there is that thought, and it comes with the romantic concept that if a person really loves you, they will get you. They will connect with you. They will know what to do and say without you even saying it. Alan de Botton actually says that this comes from our childhood experiences where our parents, particularly our mother, always look out for the best in us. Even without us, even before we started to speak, they would be checking to see that you're all right. They'll be second guessing what's wrong with the child. They will be doing everything to comfort that child. And the child forms an impression that there is what is called unconditional love. But more than that, when you really love, the person will intuitively know what you need and give it to you. And if they don't, that's a signal that you really don't love them. Now, that's a big issue. And it's an issue we can speak to for the rest of the day. But let it be said that unexpressed expectation is a disaster for relationship. It's a recipe that would destroy your marriage. Because believe it or not, your spouse isn't divine. Your spouse cannot see your thoughts, feelings, and expectations. They could only hear what you say and see what you do. And you need to be able, in some way, shape, or form, to communicate to your spouse how best to love you. Now, that's all. If you want the checklist, it's going to be in the description. Just click on the link, tell me where to send it, and I will send you a checklist of 10 damaging things that occurs in relationships and how best to deal with them. Talk soon. And also put in the comments, what are some of the things that are destroying your relationships now, right now, as we speak? What are some of the challenges, some of the things that are eating away at your marriage or relationship? I'll be checking for your comments.